Hi everyone, Jaffe here, and welcome back to Around the World in Many Days, a puzzle series which takes us all the way around the world. Today's puzzle is episode number 2. It's called Colourful Candy Cane Carousel, and it is a hexagonal cryptic crossword. Now, if you are not familiar with how cryptic crosswords work, I have just made a two-part tutorial uh, explaining you exactly how to solve them. The links are in the description below, so if you don't know how cryptics work at all, better check that out first. Um, also, I'm going to explain my thoughts on how you would solve this puzzle step by step. If you do want to try it out yourself first, I'll put a link to the puzzle on Puzzling Stack Exchange, and you can try it out there. So I have the puzzle open here. We'll read the preamble in a bit, but I have the clues on the left-hand side, and in the top right corner I have the grid open. This grid is actually just I've just followed this solve link that I have here on the in the puzzle, so you can solve it in a separate window, and this one allows you to type in the answers, type in the letters here. So let's dive in and read what Gladys writes us this time. So, dear Puzzling, today I walked in an unbelievable tropical palm forest. I have seen black parrots, weird lizards, and frogs climbing on trees growing the biggest coconuts I've ever seen. Basically, just telling us that we are looking for the name of a forest. Today's puzzle is a hexagonal cryptic crossword. Round clues form a clockwise spiral, starting at the number 1 on the left-hand side of the grid. Candy cane clues start from the numbered cell and follow the colored squares across the grid, each including the purple central cell and continuing on the other side. Answers are placed in the order given, one after the other, with no spaces. Answer lengths have been omitted. So let's just go through what that all means. So you see here we have a few numbers in the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, but obviously there are way more than 4 clues. So these are written in a sort of sequence here. Uh, these round clues start at the 1 and go all the way here. And once it gets here, it just follows this sort of this inside these black borders. And then these colored clues do this sort of candy cane structure, and they go through the center and continue on this side. So let's continue with the preamble then. There are two sets of clues for each candy cane color. One set produces the correct answers, which must be written in the grid. The other clue set produces wrong answers, where only some of the letters match the rest of the answers. Can you guess where I am? Love, Gladys. So let's scroll down. What does this mean? So we have a bunch of round clues in order, and then each candy cane clue set has option A and option B. So these both cover the entire length of this, let's say this yellow here. These both clue sets cover all of these cells. So option A, A, B, C starts from here, ends here, and option B, also the answers start here and end here. But only one of those options is going to be correct in this crossword. And the same is true for all these three colored sets of clues. Now it's a pretty unusual structure, so it's worth thinking about how to start solving this. So obviously there are no numbers, so you can't just pick any clue in the middle and solve that and insert that in the grid, because you don't know where exactly it is, because we don't have the answer lengths here. So if you think about the around clues, we're going to have to start either at the start or at the end. And the same is true for these candy canes as well. Now, you might think this end here is very useful to start with because that gives us, if you look at this first word here, it gives us a lot of these uh, crossing letters, right? Each is useful for one candy cane, and this, in fact, it is used for all of them. This one letter is used for in all directions. But maybe it's not as helpful as you might think, because even if we have a couple of letters here, we'll still can't place a word in the middle here, because you have to know how long the first word is to put a middle word here. So I think the most useful place to start would be here at the start. So let's maybe start with that. Try to figure out what these beginning around clues are. So around clue A is scratch the surface of legislation behind the principle of consent. Now we see behind some is an indicator, something behind something, something is after something, and the principle, if something is the principle of something, it is um, the principal letter, the first letter. And so principle of consent would be the C here. And behind that would be legislation. Now if we put C here and think of word for legislation, which would give us a word that means scratch the surface of. Well, legislation is law. So if you claw something, you scratch its surface. So claw is the answer to this first clue here. Now, this gives us a couple of letters for this yellow. So maybe we can look at the first clue of the yellow options. So it's either this, many an obstruction was pierced by a pair of drills. Or is this one, custody has liberal character. Well, many an or many a indicates a plural. So many an obstruction would be the same as obstructions, just indicating that there are more than one of them. Was pierced by a pair of drills. Now if you see a pair of another word, if you think of these letters and you have to pick a pair from them, well, that's going to be this pair of L's here, a pair of the same letter. And there's only one pair in this word. So pair of drills would be LL, and that pierces, that divides, that goes inside the word was. So if you put LL inside was, you get walls, and walls are obstructions, something that obstructs you. So this could be walls. But we don't know yet whether that is walls, because this could be a wrong set of clues. So let's look at actually, let's see whether should we look at option B. Well, if we find an answer for option B that doesn't fit these letters, then we know that option A is correct. So let's see. Custody has liberal character. Well, liberal can be abbreviated L or lib, and that custody has something. So a word for custody contains either L or lib. Now, custody we have an L here, by the way. So custody something A something. So if you're in someone's custody, you're in someone's care. And if you would lib in care, you get caliber, which is like your caliber, your character. So that would also work with this A and L. So we don't actually know how the yellow starts, which is kind of unhelpful here. So we're going to have to continue on with these around clues first. So let's see around B, so 1B. The hero in William Shakespeare's work Julius Caesar was born here the 1st of October. It's a long clue, but I think it's pretty clear where the definition is here, because the 1st of October is a day that, well, it's not the day that is relevant here, the first, meaning the first letter of October. So that would be the O, which would give us the definition is at the start. The hero, or the hero in William, or the hero in William Shakespeare's work. Well, what's in the middle is Julius Caesar, or just Caesar, was born here. Well, Julius Caesar was born in Rome, and that is actually very helpful because Julius Caesar was born here. Rome plus the O from 1st October, you get Romeo, and Romeo is the hero in a work of William Shakespeare's, not Julius Caesar, but another work. So Romeo is going to be answer here. And now the same story as here. We actually have two crossing letters for this blue candy cane now. So we could try to see which one of these works. So it's either 3A, the red colored rims stolen by criminal, or it's option B, problem on a desert, holding on to things to drink. Let's try this A first. Red colored, there are many words for red colored in English. Rims stolen by criminal. Well, if something is stolen by something, it often means that it is taken by, it is inside the other thing. Now, criminal has some short synonyms. It can be a lag or a con. And if you take the word con and you put rims inside, just spelled out like that, R-I-M-S, you actually get a word for red colored. You get crimson, C-R-I-M-S-O-N. Well, that doesn't look very good with these crossing letters. So could that mean that this is a wrong clue, and in fact we should be putting in the grid these options? Let's see. So that would mean this would produce an answer which fits these crossing letters. So problem on a desert, holding on to things to drink. Well, if something is holding on to something, again, it's grasping, it's containing the other thing. And that can clue either insertion, like we had earlier here by stolen, or it can be some string of words has stolen it or is holding on to the answer. So a hidden word, and here we have a hidden word. Problem on a desert holds inside it a word for things to drink, lemonades. And if we look at the word lemonades, that fits these crossing letters. And also gives us this important central letter, but because now we know we can use it for these other candy canes as well. So lemonades was correct, and these then aren't. So should we try to solve this blue then? We can try to solve this because we know the length now. Because there's only one clue left in the blue. It's going to be this, and it's going to be 6 letters. So body part of very real birds, oddly not taken into consideration. Well, one word should stand out here, which is oddly. And that can be an anagram indicator. If you spell something oddly, you put the letters in the wrong order. But often it also means the odd letters of a word or several words. So oddly, not taken into consideration. So you're not taking the odd letters from the previous part. So you're only taking the even numbered letters. So if we have these very real birds, we are looking at the even letters E, Y, E, L, I, D, and that indeed spells body part. Eyelid is the answer. And now this O is just a connector between this answer is made of this wordplay. Some people dislike these types of connectors, but I tend to use them in this direction at least. I wouldn't put wordplay of the answer, but the other way I think it's fine. Okay, now this gives us a lot of crossing letters, but we can't really fill in the across answer here because we don't know which across answer this is. So we could start here at the end, which has a couple of crossing letters, or we could continue here. I think we're going to look at the end because this is very useful. These letters that we have are very useful. So let's look at the last around clue. Attach previous resume at the back. Well, at the back, we've seen before that back can mean reversal, but at the back, if a word at the back means the backing letter, the last letter of the word. So this would be the E, which indeed is the final letter of the word. So we need a word for previous that has this S in this position that you can add an E to mean attach. Well, previous as an adjective can mean past, your past adventures, your previous adventures. And paste, if you paste something, copy paste, pasting is the attach part of that operation. So pasting means attaching, so paste is the answer here. Now, we could also look at the Q, the one Q, because we know that ends in D, so maybe that's useful. Was Satan brought back? Well, we just mentioned back as a reversal indicator, didn't we? Something is brought back, it's written in the other direction. It's sort of, if something is going that way and then it's brought back, it means it's reversing. So if you reverse a word for Satan, can you get a word for was ending in D? Well, that would mean that the word for Satan would start with a D, and I think we can find a word for Satan ending in D. So that would be devil, and if you write devil backwards, you get lived, which means was. So it starts from there because we're going clockwise, and this is the final letter. Now that means this one P here ends in E. So let's try that next. Husky is an animal familiar to the Mongols, reportedly. Well, reportedly almost always means a homophone. Something is reported, you like hear it, but you might not like hear the distinction between homophones, and that's why reportedly can clue sound like word, a homophone. So what's an animal familiar to the Mongols? Well, the Mongols had a lot of horses, didn't they? And a homophone for horse is horse with H-O-A-R-S-E. And if your voice is husky, it is horse. So not the animal husky, but adjective husky. So the answer is horse with an R, with an A, sorry. It is with an R also, but not the distinction I was looking for. So horse spelled like this means husky, and husky was the definition there. Again, we have a last letter here, so let's just continue this way, because last letters are sometimes useful when you know how something ends. Somehow first letters are even more useful, but last letters can be useful as well. So N is Woman depicted in Disney film, mostly from behind, has suddenly cleared out psychiatric facility. I'm reading the wrong clue, aren't I? There was an O clue here, and I read the completely wrong thing. Let's try again. So 1O is young animal, a little rodent, trapped by molten rock. So something is trapped by something. The trapping thing is around it, and the thing trapped is inside. So this is an insertion indicator. Now molten could maybe be you melt out this word and you just sort of mix it up. So it could be an anagram indicator, or it could be the word for molten rock, which is there's a common word for that. That's lava. So what is trapped by that? And lava, in fact, looks good because of this final A here. So a little rodent, if you take a little from the word rodent, you take just the first part, just a little of the word rodent. So R, trapped by lava, gives us a term for a young animal, a lava, with an R. So that would be L-A-R-V-A, lava. And again, this is the starting letter because we're going clockwise. Now we don't know, well, we know this is probably part of the next word, but maybe not that useful because it could be a three-letter word. We don't know. So maybe we'll continue here then from the start. So we had the Shakespeare character Romeo, and the next clue is very short. Fresh avocados kept in disorder. Now, in disorder is um, very clear indicator of an anagram. So it could be kept anagrammed, meaning fresh avocados, or even avocados kept anagrammed for a long word for fresh. Uh, but here actually that is not the case. Here the indicator is kept in. So these words kept in, they're keeping in a word for disorder. And if you look inside the words fresh avocados, there's havoc, which means disorder. And that gives us again two crossing letters for red now. And we haven't looked at red clues yet. So let's look at the red candy cane. So we are looking something OV something, and it's either this or this. Let's look at 4A first. Olivia and Diana about to be very angry. Well, Olivia has a short nickname, which is Liv. And Diana, if you think of a famous Diana, is Di, D-I. About, well, about has a ton of meanings in cryptics. It can be an abbreviation like C for circa, CA for circa, re can be about. But and about can sometimes mean anagramming as well. It's becoming a theme that every word can be an anagram. But yeah, but here about, if you turn about, you turn around. So here it means backwards. So die backwards is ID. Live plus ID is very angry. So we would have livid as the answer here. Well, that does not fit. LI, so clash is here. V works, ID. These all work, but the O clashes. So this is a wrong answer actually. So this would mean, if we're correct here, that option B would be correct. So it conquers all or nothing at Wimbledon. And second letter is O, third letter is V. Well, what conquers all? I think we know what that answer is. Love conquers all is the expression, right? Why is that nothing at Wimbledon? This is just a second definition. In tennis, zero is love, so nothing at Wimbledon is love. So that is a double definition for love, and that fits our crossing letters here. So this would mean And we have a lot of crossing letters here, by the way. This would mean that this is the correct clue for the following part, which has something OPETI something. We don't know where it ends. It could be something op, something op, something opet, something opati, or something like that. Let's see. Comedian Bob, who appeared in numerous films, he has taken on work. Well, we see OP here, which is very often means work. Work can also be W from physics, but opus, is a work. So he, if you look at the word, just the letters H and E, if they take on, if they carry, if they take inside them, OP for work, you get hope. And comedian Bob Hope appeared in numerous films. So this entire thing, comedian Bob who appeared in numerous films, is the definition for hope. Bob Hope. So that means that this is the correct clue for the final part, and that final part is 7 letters, starts with TI. So that's very useful. So let's try to do that. Part of a classical orchestra. During concert, I'm panicking. Now, part of should immediately make you think of hidden word. So if you have part of something, it's useful to look inside these words to see if you can find any. And here we're looking for a word starting with TI, so it doesn't look like there's anything here. But part of is very often a hidden word indicator. Now we have another indicator here that can mean a hidden word, during. If something is seen during like a longer stretch, during it you can find something. And here we have TI. So if you look at TI and then take 7 letters, you get timpani. And that is an instrument that is part of a classical orchestra. So this is the definition. Hidden word inside all of these words. So timpani is the answer. Okay then. This timpani gives us the final letter of this word. Remember we had lava here, and this sort of preceding word ends in M, which seems useful. So let's try the around clues from the end again. So we had young animal, lava. So let's try this, which I already read for some reason. Woman depicted in Disney film, mostly from behind, has suddenly cleared out psychiatric facility. Well, that is a lot of words. Mostly is an indicator that can mean take everything but the last letter. You take most of a word. From behind can mean backwards. What else? In can mean inside. You take a woman inside, put a woman inside Disney film, and woman can be W, by the way. What else? What kind of indicators do we have? Cleared out can mean take out the content of the word, just leave the sort of first and last letters, clear everything else out. So suddenly cleared out could be SY. Now we have a Y here. So if that is SY, SY something something M, well, psychiatric facility. We have a word for a psychiatric facility that fits these letters, which is asylum. So this would be the suddenly cleared out. And now how does the rest work? Woman depicted in Disney film is Mulan, M-U-L-A, and there would be an N here. Mostly, you take out the last letter. So Mulan mostly is Mula. From behind, you turn that backwards. A-L-U-M, alum. And that has the SY, the suddenly clear out. So that contains SY. Put all that together, you get a psychiatric facility, an asylum. Now then, we don't have We have a H here somewhere in the middle, or maybe at the start of the uh, next answer. Maybe we can work out this answer. So hot drink by Norway's first Starbucks, perhaps. When we see something's first, you should be thinking about this N probably. By can be the letter X, as in multiplication, 2 by 4, 2x4, or it can be just by next to something. So hot drink put next to N, and you would get Starbucks perhaps. Or perhaps we've seen this before, so that's a definition by example. So what is Starbucks? An example of that ends in N, and it's going to have this H here. Well, Starbucks is a chain of coffee shops, right? So chain ends in N and has this H here. And what is the hot drink then? Hot drink is chai. Chai is a hot drink. Put Norway's first, the N here, and you get chain. And Starbucks is one example of a chain. Let's continue backwards here. I like going backwards. So N, so the penultimate letter is N. Let's see. Atkinson's character has soy and coffee question mark. Now again, question mark, multiple purposes, but one of them is the same as this perhaps. So could it be coffee is an anagram of something, or soy and coffee are an anagram of something? An example of something, I should say. An example of what are soy and coffee. Well, let's look at the other side. Atkinson's character. Well, this can refer to Rowan Atkinson, and that would be Mr. Beans. He has other characters as well, Blackadder, Johnny English, but I mean, soy is a bean, right? Coffee is a bean, so soy and coffee are examples of beans. So Atkinson's character, Bean, has, could be apostrophe S, and put those together you get beans, which can be soy and coffee. So that is beans. Now then, let's continue with this. So oh, by the way, now with beans and also with lava, we already see that this fixes the yellow clues. So let's look at those again. We worked out that this was walls. That no longer works. W-A-L-L, and this S clashes now. So once we've filled in beans, walls becomes a wrong answer. And caliber here becomes the right answer. And that does fit. Caliber here. Now the next word will start with EARN, which looks very promising, doesn't it? So let's see. Student neglected to acquire information and make money. And to earn is to make money. So could that just be earn? Well, student, if you see student or learner, that's sometimes L, the abbreviation. You might see a sticker for learner driver at the back of a car, L. That is neglected from a word that means to acquire information. To acquire information is to learn. So you neglect the L, you get earn, which means make money. So this was in fact just the earn here, which we already had. Now that means the last word is 4 letters. We don't have any crossing letters here, but let's see. Gladys meeting with Narcos to show plan. Now it's important to note that Gladys is the person who is sort of narrating this story. So Gladys can be I here. Narcos, if you can think of an agency with narcotic agents, put that with I and you get a plan. So I plus DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency or something, Narcos, you get idea, which is a plan is an idea. I have a plan, I have an idea. So that's the yellows done. Now we have a couple of crossing letters for these arounds. So let's try these arounds for a change. So we had havoc, which was the disorder, this. So Edward the First's about face. About, again, can mean several things, but it can mean backwards. And if you look at this, we have Ed here already, and Edward can be Ed. Ed is a common nickname for Edward. But that's the wrong way around. So this would be the end. But if about is reversal, then it would be Edward, Ed, then these just plain, is, put all of that backwards, you get side. A face, let's say a face of a cube is its side, right? So side is the answer here. Now then, let's continue this around clues. So fantasy monsters making, notice this is making with an apostrophe, so that's going to be important. You don't usually see these sort of slang expressions, making. So it's going to be important that this is making and not making. Making turkey-like sounds that we hear. So that we hear is relates to hearing, so it could be a homophone indicator. So if something is making turkey-like sounds, well, a turkey gobbles, just gobble gobble. So making turkey-like sounds would be goblin, and that sounds like a fantasy monster, a goblin. So a goblin is the answer here. So goblin obviously with two B's would be there, making turkey-like sounds. Now then, this has the A and the N probably, the next answer, so let's see that. Stylish bird seen near Kentucky. Well, if you see a US state in a cryptic crossword, often it's an abbreviation for that state, and you sort of just have to know them. Kentucky is KY. So bird seen near KY, so put next to KY, and you get a word for stylish. Well, the KY can't go anywhere here, so it's going to be here if it is the KY. So we would need a four-letter bird that ends in AN that produces a six-letter word for stylish. And a swan is a bird, and swanky can mean stylish. So these crossing letters really helped us there, so we could place the KY immediately. And that gives us now that the next answer starts with an I. So let's see. Unit of measurement used in the UK and in the US and in Switzerland. Well, if you read that out loud, maybe this is not how you would phrase this. Like, why would you put a second and here? Used in the UK, in the US, and in Switzerland. So could this and be important here? Could this and be part of the word that we're looking for? Well, there's not really a place for and here. Maybe it also serves another purpose. Some unit of measurement that fits here. Well, inch does fit here, doesn't it? And how does that work? Switzerland, the abbreviation for Switzerland, like if you see a car license plate or something, you might say CH, Confederatio Helvetica or something. So inch, so Switzerland CH, in is just this in here. And now this definition would be this entire enormous thing. Unit of measurement used in the UK and in the US. And now you see why this and is necessary. I mean, it wouldn't read well as a definition if it was unit of measurement used in the UK in the US. So that's why this and is here. So it in fact was relevant. So inch was the answer. Now let's just look at this next answer, which starts with O here. Trick performed by skateboarder Stan's partner. Well, Stan's partner, if you can think of a famous pair, well, one of them was Stan. You might think of Stan and Ollie. And trick performed by skateboarder. So an Ollie is a trick on the skateboard. So that's a double definition for Ollie. Now, we don't know the starting letter here, but we have a lot of crossing letters here. So the second letter is L. Let's see, bare grassland. So if you see two words, it's almost always a double definition. So something is bare, an adjective that means bare, and that can also be a noun that means grassland. Well, a plain is a grassland, and if something is plain, it is bare. It's bare to see, it's plain to see. So that's two definitions for plain. Continuing here on these around clues. Norwegian pop group filled with energy and emboldened, finally getting forward. Well, finally again, not again, we had that in a previous video. Finally means final letter of all letters. If you look at these, H, Y, D, D, doesn't give really anything useful. But it's going to be final letter of something. Finally getting could be this G, finally emboldened finally could be this D. Norwegian pop group. Well, there's one that's probably the most useful here, especially with this A, which would be AHA and AHA. That is filled with, that contains energy. Well, in physics, energy can be E, like E equals mc squared. E is energy, right? So that's the E here. So if we put E inside AHA, is it AHA or AHA? I think it's AHA. So we get ahead here. So emboldened finally is the D here, the final letter here, D. So AHA containing E plus the D, and we get forward, ahead. And the getting is just a connector here. This you do this wordplay, getting the answer for forward, which means ahead. Okay, now we are pretty close to finishing this up actually. So let's see. The next clue is health resort in a place where the rain stays. Wow, rain stays mainly in the one eye, and one eye was the plane here. So where does the rain stay mainly in the plane? Well, that's a song, the rain in Spain, and health resort is spa, and in is again just plain in. So Spain is the answer, and this I think gives us. It should give us that we are correct here, but somehow it doesn't. Let's see, Spain, beans, chain, asylum, lava, horse, lived, paste. Yeah, this is all correct. For some reason, it's not giving the message that it's correct. But that is the field grid. Now, what about how are we going to find out what forest Gladys is in? Well, if you noticed in the definition, in the description, so we had two sets of clues for each of these candy canes. Now, why is that? What is that used? And if you read carefully, one set produces the correct answers, which must be written in the grid. We did that. We have all the answers in the grid here. The other clue set produces wrong answers, where only some of the letters match the rest of the answers. Maybe we should look at what letters in the wrong answers match this grid here. Maybe that is important. So we go back to the candy cane clues here. So We had caliber and idea and earn here in the yellow one. So these are the wrong ones, and we figured out this one was walls. So this would be W. Let's mark this somehow. So I'm going to mark the surface as something. What should I use here actually? Green. I'm gonna use green. So is there anything better? Let's use green. So walls. So this would be W, and then this would be AL, LS. So these are the AL are the letters um, that are the same. Now then we haven't solved this. So bother Adam's wife after gym class. Well, gym class is PE. After PE, we get Adam's wife, and we get a verb that means to bother. Well, Eve was Adam's wife, so peeve is PE plus Eve. Now, how does that fit? We have walls ending here, so peeve would be P, E, E, V, E. So these two E's are the ones that are the same. And now we have another clue to fill, which is now 5 letters. V, E ends here, so 5 letters. For religious group obstinately denies libeling youth leaders. Well, leader is a clear indicator of first letter, so it could be libeling youth leaders, LY, or it could be the whole thing, group GODLY. These leaders would give godly, and if you're godly, you are religious, so that works. So how does godly fit here? GOD works, DLY. So let's color. Can we color this white? This somehow? I don't think we can. Yeah, it's annoying because I'm not sure how well this green stands out if you are colorblind. But yeah, there aren't great colors here. I'm not sure which one would be better, so I'm going to use this one. Um, so these are the crossing letters that match in the yellow. Now let's look at the blue then. So we had red colored dreams stolen by criminal, and we figured out this was crimson. So CRIMSON, and nothing fits here. Actually, CRIMSON, nothing. So the next one should be start with E then. And we only have one clue left, so it should be a word that is this 8 letters? 1, 2, 3, 8 letters. So the cleric mistakenly evicted the leader of heathens, making use of an invisible force of nature. Mistakenly uh, can mean anagramming. You do something in a mistaken way. You do it in a wrong order. You put the letters in a wrong order. So no, the cleric is 9 letters, and that has evicted. That has thrown out the leader of heathens. So the leader again. We had leaders earlier, first letters. So leader of heathens is the H here, and we have a H here. So if we look at these letters without the H, you get decleric, anagram that, and you get an adjective for something that makes use of an invisible force of nature. And an anagram of the cleric without the H is electric. And if something is electric, it makes use of an invisible force of nature. So ELECTRIC. So this I and this E were the same. Let's look at this red then. So in red we had love was correct, livid was not correct, so livid, Livid. So these two are the same. Then we have Taylor being interrupted by West ultimately leads to commotion. Again, ultimately, very often indicating last letters. Let's look at last letters. T, Y, D, dit, gdit. It doesn't look good. Maybe it's just West ultimately, or it could be ultimately leads, could be this S. Leads can also be first letters, so we should check that as well. The U, W, W doesn't look good. But leads to often means you have wordplay, and that wordplay leads to an answer. So that could be a connector showing you that the commotion part is the answer. So also Taylor is misspelled here, as you see if you look at the surface reading Taylor Swift being interrupted by Kanye West, right? But Taylor Swift is written with a Y. So why is this Taylor with an I? Well, if you tailor something, one word for Taylor is sew, S-E-W. If you interrupt that word with West ultimately, so the ending letter of West, you get stew, which a stew is a commotion. So that's the answer to this. Also of note, by the way, West on its own is often just W from the compass. But here is West ultimately is T, and stew is the answer, meaning commotion. So livid ends here, so S-T-E-W. So this E was the same as it should be, but nothing else. It didn't give us any new letters. And we have one more clue here, which is unexpectedly mutual component of motorhead. Unexpectedly, often an anagram indicator. Something is in letters are in an unexpected order. And mutual is 6 letters, and we need where did we end? It's 2 and here, so we needed 6 more letters. So if we anagram mutual, can we get a word that is a component of Motorhead? Well, it's not a component of the band. It's a component of the word Motorhead, and we see here it's spelled with this umlaut, which the band name actually is spelled with. So umlaut is an anagram of mutual. It means just these 2 dots here from German. So that would be U-M-L-A-U-T. So those are the letters that match all the rest of the answers. Now let's try reading these in order. So V-A-L-L-E-E-D-E-M-A-I. It spells out Valet de Mai. And if we look up what Valet de Mai is, we can find that that is in fact a nature reserve. So we were looking for a forest. So this is a nature park on the island of Praslin in Seychelles. So that is the final answer. That is where Gladys currently is. She is in Valet de Mai in Seychelles. So this was maybe a bit harder or a lot harder than the examples we had in the tutorial for cryptic clues, but I hope it made sense. We're going to have cryptic clues in the next episode as well. It's not the crossword, but we have cryptic clues, and then we sort of have to fill in a maze with those, and it's going to be called Mazed and Confused. So I will be seeing you for episode 3, and that is all for this one. Thanks.